Okay, so you've probably read the title, but what this video is pretty much going to be running through all the information we have about the Switch 2 right now and all the information you need to know. Most of the information you need to know. Obviously, there's not going to be every single little detail about the Switch 2, but it's going to be mostly everything you need to know. So it's going to be broken down into the parts. There's going to be like part 1, part 2, part 3. There'll be timestamps in the bottom, not like separate videos. But yeah, let's just get into it because y'all want me to shut the fuck up. So Nintendo Switch 2 will be launching on June 5th. It'll be launching to around $450 USD to $500 USD. So the $500 bundle will come with Mario Kart World. Here in Australia, the pricing will be $769, aka $770 for the Mario Kart World bundle, and it'll come to around. Where is the price? Where the fuck did it get? Where the hell is it? It's just disappeared. Okay, that was probably after like a second of a cut. So yeah, the Switch 2 on its own is going to be $700, and then the Switch 2 with Mario Kart World will be $770, which is technically $70 for the game, even though the game costs $110 on its own. If you're planning on picking up the Switch 2, just spend the extra $70, get the bundle. It's just a better deal. But don't worry, if you don't actually have the money for the Switch 2 right now, you can put down a $50 deposit on EB Games, meaning pretty much you just pay $50 now, and then when it launches, then you'll obviously have to pay $50 when the thing you'll have to pay $770 when it launches, but you put a $50 deposit down right now, which I'd recommend doing that. That's what I did because I do not have almost $800 at this very moment. I will when it launches. Yeah, in the US, or not in the US, I'll get to that in a second, but around the world, official pre-orders go up April 9th, but you can actually pre-order it right now on EB. Officeworks has it for pre-order right now. I don't believe Big W, but yeah, apparently official pre-orders are meant to start on April 9th, but most retailers start a little bit early, and digital games are now $80 American, which comes out to around $110 Australian. Should actually equal out to 130, but it seems like they've kind of counted for inflation. So it seems like they've counted for inflation here in Australia, so it's not going to cost $130 for a digital game. It'll cost $110, and physical will cost $90 American, but here in Australia will only cost, or really only put you down, $110 for an $80 game and $120 for obviously a $90 game. So it varies with the prices. Like Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is one of the launch titles, or not launch titles, but it's launching around a month later. That game's actually only going to cost $80 for a physical edition and $70 for a digital edition, meaning it's $110 here in Australia, which is actually the same price as most PlayStation games. First, but like the high-end PlayStation games costing $120, and then Mario Kart World apparently being a high-end Switch title is going to cost $120, which is really weird. I don't know how they're going to work with that. Like some titles seem to be going at 110, some titles seem to be going at 120. It's not all first-party titles are going to be 120. It's really confusing. I don't fully understand it, but it's just weird. And yeah, it's just weird. And then some games are absurdly cheaper, like Street Fighter 6 is only going to cost $80, but something like Cyberpunk, which is releasing day one, which we'll be talking about a little bit more later, is going to be $120 on the Switch 2, which is like $10 to $20 more expensive than what you'd be able to get at full price on PlayStation or PC. Plus, it's discounted all the time. Plus, it's not going to be running very well on the Switch too. So it's just absurd pricing. I don't understand it at all. It doesn't make any sense, but you know, whatever. Now we're going to be going into another thing. This only really applies to Japan. So if you're not in Japan, or maybe you're just interested in this information, I don't know. But yeah, this is a Japanese only thing. So apparently the Nintendo Switch 2 will have a Japanese only system in Japan, which will be really cheap. It's actually absurdly cheaper than what it actually retails for. Which will be 49,000 yen, tax included, which I think comes out to like $390, which is considerably, it's like $150 to $200 cheaper, which is absurdly cheaper than what the American one is and the Australian version is. So currently the the Japanese only one, so the Japanese only system will currently slated to only allow Japanese region accounts and Japanese language supported exclusively. So it looks to be a cheaper version than the international version. So in Japan, you'll be able to buy 2 versions of the Switch. You'll be able to buy the Japanese only version and the international version. The international version will be around the same price as what it is around the world, but the Japanese only version will be absurdly cheaper, like I think $200 cheaper. It's something like that. But the difference being that the Japanese only one only allows Japanese region accounts and only supports the Japanese language. So it's exclusively, you'll only be able to, it'll only support the Japanese text. But then obviously the international version will be more expensive. They're mainly doing this so that people from like America don't go over, buy a Japanese Nintendo Switch, and then move back to America or go back to America, so people don't get it cheaper. But they want to keep it cheaper for the Japanese audience because most of their consumer base is Japanese. So it's a little hard to explain, but that's probably the best summary I can give. They want a cheaper version for the Japanese people because the Japanese are clearly the people who are mostly buying the Switch, but to keep people from buying it from overseas, they've made it like a Japanese only version. That's probably the best way I can explain that. So that's the little thing for you people who are in Japan, I guess. And then the final thing is, this was actually released just 30 minutes ago as of me recording this, so I'm happy I kind of kept this video a little bit later. But this Nintendo says Switch 2 pre-orders are not going to start on April 9th for the US and will update timing at a later date. So in order to assess the political impact of the tariffs and involving the market conditions. So I'm not going to go into the whole tariffs thing. That's America. That's America. That's politics. I'm not going to get into that, but yeah, so pretty much in the US exclusively, nowhere else, just the US, they're going to be delaying pre-orders past April 9th, meaning if you're in the US, you plan on buying the Switch, you will not be able to pre-order it on April 9th. And if it gets a little bit out of hand, they may actually push the release date in America from June 5th to maybe a later date. I just hope this doesn't impact the rest of the world because I'm looking forward to getting my Switch on June 5th. I don't really want to, not get my Switch on June 5th. I want to get that shit. So yeah, if you're in the US, the pre-order dates are going to be delayed. So it's not going to be releasing, or it's not going to be, pre-orders aren't going to be available on April 9th. And another little thing I forgot to mention is if you plan on going into EB Games physically to actually put your deposit down on your Switch 2 or pre-order the Switch 2, as far as I know, you can't actually do that right now. I actually went in there yesterday because I actually went and saw the Minecraft movie yesterday to go and pretty much I went in to see the Minecraft movie, and I went into EB Games, my local one, to pretty much pre-order Patapon 1+2, which is coming soon, and to put a deposit down on the Switch 2 because I only had cash on me. I didn't have money in my account. That's all you need to know. And I went in there and I was like, hey, can I put a deposit down on the Switch 2? And they said, we can't actually do that. We don't know when we'll be able to do that. The guy says he suspects they'll be able to do it by April 10th, the official release date time. I don't know why they couldn't just do that on the same day. He said they might get them in by Friday or Saturday, but as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I know now, you can't actually go into the store and pre-order the Switch 2. Maybe that's changed as of me editing this or recording this, but right now, apparently you can't walk into a store physically and put the deposit down or pre-order it right now. That will change, but I just don't know what's happening with that. I just couldn't do it on day one. I don't know if that's been solved right now as of me recording this, but who fucking knows? Who fucking knows? Okay, going on to the other part. Here's the specs for the system, so I'll try to run through this one quite fast because that first section took a lot longer than what I was hoping. So Nintendo Switch 2 specs, 7.9 inch LCD screen, thickness will be 13.9 mm, X2 resolution, 2x the resolution, up to 4K in docked mode, meaning if you have it docked and you plan on playing like Metro Prime 4 or the new Pokemon game, you can run up to 4K 60 FPS, main display up to 120 FPS plus HDR, 256 gigabytes base storage, which is wild. Obviously, games are going to be probably bigger for the Switch 2, but baseline, comparable to the Switch 1. The Switch 1 had a baseline storage of around, I think, 37 gigabytes, so 256 gigabytes is a huge step up. It's going to cost a hell of a lot more than the Switch 1, but it is clearly going to be quite the upgrade. Joy-Con 2, or Joy-Con, the new Joy-Cons for the Switch 2 are going to be easier to press LS and SR buttons, which pretty much means buttons are bigger on the controllers or on the Joy-Cons. So the Joy-Con buttons are going to be bigger. The actual the buttons, the Joy-Cons are going to be bigger, and the buttons are going to be bigger for people with fat fucking fingers like me. I don't have fat fingers. I just have big hands. And apparently the Joy-Cons too will be attached with magnets. So it'll be magnetized, meaning, with the Switch One, they used to click on, or they used to like flick in. Now it's going to be magnetized, which I actually like. I think that's a good creative decision. Instead of having it click in, it's going to be magnetized. I think that's a great decision. What else is there? There's going to be 3D audio. It's going to be a USB-C ports, meaning it's going to be a USB-C based system, which is again very good because USB-C is actually used on the PlayStation 5 and it's a hugely great upgrade. USB-C is just faster at charging things. So going for USB-C is honestly a great solution. It's also going to have noise cancelling in microphone, meaning noise cancelling microphone. It'll have a built-in microphone. That's really all you need to know. What else is there? It does have a larger screen and it has a thicker and larger screen than the Switch One. I did just mention numbers, but I think that's all you'll need to know. Handheld mode, 1080p, 120 FPS. So, it'll run 120. It'll pretty much run 1080p, 120 FPS, which is wild. That's up to docked. And again, while docked, 4K output, HDR up to 4K 60, meaning, again, while you have it docked, it'll run at 4K 60. Which is wild, depending on the game, obviously. And then obviously there's mouse controls with the Joy-Cons, which are going to be used like, for an example, with Metro Prime 4, they actually showed this really well. One Joy-Con you're going to use to pretty much move around, and then the other one you can use as like a mouse to aim, which is really unique. I think it's I think it's really unique how they're going around it, and I respect it, but it's just interesting. I don't know. And then finally, it will be backwards compatible with the Switch One, but we kind of already knew that. Then going on to the other bit of information, the Switch 2 cartridges will be different in certain ways. The main way being they're going to be the same size, but the Switch 2 ones are going to be red. So on the on the outer, usually the Switch 1 cartridges are black or grayish. These ones are going to be red. Switch 2 game cards are the same size as the Switch 1. They're red, but with faster data read speed. So they're going to read stuff faster. They're just going to be faster in general. And then going into the other thing, micro SD cards. Interesting thing about these is micro SD cards for the Switch 2, high speed transfer possible. So regular micro SD cards will not be compatible with the Switch 2. AKA, if you bought a micro SD card for your Switch 1, that Switch 1 micro SD card is not going to be compatible with the Switch 2. You'll need to get micro SD card express cards. So if you want more additional storage for the Switch 2, you'll have to get the micro SD express cards. Normal micro SD cards are not going to work with the Switch 2. So just keep that in mind. Really important information. And then there will be data transfer, meaning if you want to pretty much move your data from your Switch 1 to Switch 2, you can just use the system transfer for saved data and digital games and more. So if you want to move your data, you just have to use the system transfer data system thing, transfer data system. It's built into your Switch 1. Just look up a guide and you'll be able to move the data across. Personally, I'm probably not going to do it because I have practically no data, maybe besides my 30-minute log into Dragon Quest 3 remake. I never really played my Switch 1, but none of that's important. You aren't here to hear about my personal stories with the Switch. Then finally, so 2 things. It will be coming with a Pro controller, a new Switch 2 Pro controller, which I don't know if I'm going to be picking up yet. It's going to be around $130, which is probably a little steep for me, but I don't know. And the C button has been confirmed to pretty much be the C button for the microphone and the game chat thing. We're going to be getting to the game chat thing in a minute. But yeah, it's pretty much a button for something that will require the Nintendo Online subscription, which is weird. But, and on top of that, in the new Pro controller, we'll have an audio jack and back buttons. Interesting. Now going on to the other thing, which is just some smaller things that I didn't really find fitting into other categories, but we'll add into this just its own category, like miscellaneous things. So miscellaneous thing 1 is 50 gigabyte download required to play Street Fighter even after inserting the physical cartridge. So what was said is Nintendo Switch 2 Game Key card overview. Game Key cards are different from regular game cards because they don't contain the full game data. Instead, the Game Key cards is your key to downloading the full game to your system via the internet. So long story short, there's going to be 2 types of game cards. There's going to be Switch 2 games with the actual game on the card or the pretty much the chip itself or the physical disc, the physical cartridge. So there are going to be two types of games. There are going to be games where the data is actually on the cartridge. Then they're going to be pretty much games where when you insert the thing, it's pretty much just a game key, meaning it's no different to if you were to pretty much digitally insert a key into Steam, meaning if you got a game, it came with a key, then you have to put that key in physically. With the Switch 2, it's not going to be quite like that. It's going to be you put the game cartridge in, and then it pretty much lets you download the game digitally off the store. So it's just granting you access to download the game. This goes completely against physical games and physical media completely. This really fucks over anyone who really loves physical media. So if you love physical media and really owning your games, this is going to be a huge fuck you to you. It's practically a huge fuck you. You know what I mean? So yeah, you're getting the game physically, but it's just a digital download. It just grants you access to play the game. This is just, if you like physical games and you love physical media and you like really owning your games, this is a huge fuck you. I hate this decision because I'm a huge physical guy myself. I love physical games. I own a huge collection of physical games, so this hurts a lot. So from my personal standpoint, I'm probably going to watch out for certain things. Yeah, I'm probably going to be watching out for games like this. I don't think I'm going to be getting games that'll pretty much just be a game key card. I'm not going to be buying those games. I think I'm just going to stay away from them, and I'm just, maybe certain titles like first party titles, like if Metroid Prime is like this, I'll most likely still bite the bullet. But yeah, there's pretty much no difference between physical and digital. The only difference being, I guess you do own a case, but it's stupid. I'm not going to really dwell on it too much. The next thing, which I mentioned earlier, which is game chat. Game chat is pretty much just going to be Discord for the Nintendo Switch 2. There's also going to be a camera that'll be available at launch. It doesn't actually come with the system. You'll have to buy it separately, which is why I think the camera is going to flop. The camera's around $100 right now on EB Games, or I think it's maybe 80 to 70, and it's going to be a separate buy. It just seems like garbage. I think it's stupid, but whatever. And then the game chat, which is going to be pretty much, again, just Discord for Nintendo, is going to require Nintendo Online membership, an NSO membership. It'll actually have free access until March 26, 2026, meaning, when the system launches, you'll be able to use their game chat feature completely for free until March 26, 2026. And then past that point, you're going to have to pay for an NSO membership to pretty much use game chat, which is stupid because things like Discord exist. I don't get it. And then you'll also have to buy a camera for it. But on the upside, the Nintendo Switch comes with a built-in microphone, but I don't really know too many of the details about this. It's weird. So yeah, if you're interested in the game chat feature, you'll be able to pretty much use it for free all the way up until March 26, 2026. And then past that point, you'll start having to pay for NSO Online or membership to pretty much access it, meaning there's literally a button dedicated to there's pretty much a button on your controller dedicated to a feature that'll be locked behind a membership, which is wild. I think that's stupid, but whatever. It is what it is. And then the final thing is category is game share has been announced for local play with other systems. Share up to 3 systems, supports online play. Compatible with select games. So share a local play. So game share will be available for the Switch on specific titles, not every title, but certain titles like, I don't know, like if you want to play like, I don't know, I think Mario Party might apply to this, but yeah, like let's say you've got a friend with a Switch Lite, and then you got another friend with a baseline Switch, and then you got another friend with a Switch 2, you can all pretty much play together via game share, meaning only one of you have to own the game, and then you can both play the game. It's not quite like Steam's game share, where it's really like you can pretty much play whatever the fuck you want. It's not going to be like Steam's game share, but you'll be able to if you want to play Mario Party and only one of you own Mario Party, you can go, hey, let's just hook up. That sounds a little sexual. No, not like that type of hookup, but let's just hook up our systems, hook up the systems, and only one of you need to own Mario Party to pretty much play all together, which is a huge W. I think that's really cool. It's going to be local play, so again, you can't be all the way across the country and then play local or play game share. It's not going to work like that. You have to still be in the same room, but it's still a cool feature. I think it's fine. Then going on to the other part, I'm just going to quickly blow my nose. So this part's going to be quite short, but what it pretty much is it's going to be backwards compatibility. or upgrades. So if you didn't know, when the PS4 launched, there was actually dual PS5 launched. There were dual editions of games. There were PS5 editions and PS4 editions. And the difference being was the PS5 editions were better upgrades. They looked better. They played better. They had better frame rates. They had certain options. They had certain features. They were a little bit more in depth with the settings and all that stuff. Nintendo is implementing the exact same thing for select titles. Not every title, but some titles will have pretty much a Nintendo Switch 2 edition available. Some of these titles being Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. All 4 of these games will have Switch 2 pretty much editions. The same with Metroid Prime 4. Well, we'll actually get into that in a second. And Pokemon Legends Z and A. We'll get into those 2 titles in a second. But yeah, so Tears of the Kingdom is pretty much going to be a dual title, meaning you can play the Switch, you can pay the baseline Switch version, but you can also pay an extra, I believe, $20 to pretty much get the upgraded edition, to get the upgraded edition, which is, yeah, fine, I guess. So if you already own the base game, you only have to pay a $20 upgrade. If you don't own the game yet, you can actually buy a Switch 2 version, but there's a little bit of a weird thing with that, meaning if you buy the Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild, you get the Nintendo Switch 1 version and a little code that pretty much allows you to insert the code and get the Switch 2 version, meaning you're getting physically the Switch 1 version, and then you're getting a game code for free that'll allow you to upgrade to the Switch 2 version. Really cheap way of doing it. Like, PlayStation just produced 2 different types of discs. I don't know why they're doing this, but it's really fucking stupid. It makes no sense, meaning if you want to buy the Switch 2 version of Breath of the Wild, it pretty much just gives you the Switch game plus and then it gives you the Switch game plus just a game key for the upgrade. It's stupid. And then there's going to be another type of game. Again, if you already own the game, you just have to pay for a $20 upgrade, yeah. And then there's a other type of game which are going to be dual games, which are like new releases that are pretty much releasing on the Switch 2 and the Switch 1. Metroid Prime 4 will be releasing on the Switch 1 and Switch 2. It'll pretty much have a Switch 1 version and a Switch 2 version. The same with Pokemon Legends Z and A will have a Switch 1 version and a Switch 2 version. So like God of War Ragnarok, where it's like God of War Ragnarok released a PS4 version and a PS5 version. Another thing to remember is Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 editions will be available at launch, but Kirby and the Forgotten Land Switch 2 edition isn't going to be available till August, and Super Mario Jamboree Switch 2 edition isn't going to be available till like late July. I think it might be July 24th. So yeah, those upgrades are going to be not available at launch, but Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild will be. So now going on to the other thing. Where is it? Okay, yeah, games that are coming. I'll try to speed run through this because this is getting really long. So here's most of every third-party game which is coming to the Switch 2. So you've got Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition, which I already mentioned earlier. Elden Ring will be actually coming to the Switch 2, which is huge. So Cyberpunk 2077 will be a launch title for the Switch 2, meaning if you're looking at some launch titles to pick up for the Switch 2, you will be able to pick up Cyberpunk day one. I probably wouldn't recommend it because it's severely overpriced while being a really not a very good edition of the game. It's pretty much going to be the worst this generation edition of Cyberpunk you can play. Just go buy it on your PlayStation. It's far cheaper. So I wouldn't recommend it, but if you're just looking for some title to pick up for your Switch 2, yeah, why not? Elden Ring Transferred Edition will be launching on the Switch 2. So Elden Ring launching on the Switch 2. Really cool. The same with the DLC, but that's at a later date, so that's not going to be pretty much a day one-er, but it will be launching sometime in 2025. Final Fantasy VII Remake Integration Edition will be launching sometime this year. Again, no firm release date, but it is coming this year. Sometime this year, but that's really, really cool. No word on FF7 Rebirth, but that'll, I suspect, will probably come like early next year. So yeah, if you're excited for FF7 Remake, I guess you can pick it up on the Switch at a later date sometime this year. Hades 2 will also be getting a Switch 2 version. If I believe Hades 1 released on the Switch 1, we never got Hades 2 on the Switch 1, but now we're officially getting Hades 2 on the Switch 2. I don't believe there's a release date for that one, so just, I guess, keep your eye out. Split Fiction will also be launching on the Switch 2. It'll actually be a day one purchase. You can't get it physically, but you can get it digitally. So yeah, if you're excited, I guess you can play Split Fiction. I don't know if local play will be available for Split Fiction, but I assume it would be, seeing as Split Fiction, you know, the guys over at Hazel Studios are really pro share play or game share. So I suspect it will, but I don't really know too many of the details. All you need to know is Split Fiction will be available day one for the Switch 2. The next game, which is actually available for pre-order right now physically, that you can buy right now, is Street Fighter 6. That's going to be a day one or a launch title for the Switch 2. So yeah, Street Fighter 6 Hogwarts Legacy will also be getting a Switch 2 version. It actually has a version for the Switch 1. So that's, yeah. So I don't know if the upgrade's going to be available or if it's going to be an entirely new edition. I don't know how that's even going to work. But yeah, Hogwarts Legacy is coming sometime this year. It'll surely run far better than the Switch 1 version. So I'm pretty hyped to actually see what they're cooking up with a Hogwarts Legacy Switch 2 edition. But yeah, and then you've got Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4, which was actually already announced, I believe, for the Switch 1, which is releasing just, again, on the same day that the game releases, which is in, like, I think July. And then you've got Yakuza 0 Director's Cut, which is Yakuza 0 is already released, but the Director's Cut is a whole new thing, which I think's coming at a later date in 2025. Then you've got Hitman World of Assassination, which I think's actually a day one launch for the Switch, but it'll be a digital only version, so you can only buy it digitally, but it will be available on June 5th when the Switch 2 launches. Then Project 007 by IO Interactive, the same people who did the Hitman games, didn't really get an update, but they pretty much said, hey, this game that we have nothing on, Project 007, which is, of course, a James Bond game, is coming to the Switch 2. So, yeah, Project 007 will be coming to the Switch 2. We have zero release date on. We have zero information. We just know it is coming to the Switch 2. Beverly Default Flying Fairy will also be launching on the Switch 2. That's going to be a day one game. You can actually buy digitally, or you can actually buy right now on EB Games. It'll have a physical edition, but I believe it is just a like a game key thing similar to Street Fighter 6. And then one game that will be coming when it launches in September, which is Borderlands 4. So Borderlands 4 will be launching on the Switch 2 in fucking September when the game actually launches itself. And then the final three titles being Civilization 7, which I think is coming day one to the Switch 2. It could be coming June 5th digitally only. I could be wrong on that one though. And fun fact about Civilization 7 on the Switch 2, it's actually going to have mouse capability. So I mentioned this earlier, but it's going to have a mouse feature, which you can pretty much use the Switch 2 as a mouse, the Joy-Con as a mouse. So Civilization 7 is actually going to be compatible with that feature, which is kind of cool. And then the last two titles just being WWE 2K and then EA Madden, which we don't really need to go into depth with that. I think there were a couple others. Yeah, there were a couple others I did miss. You've got Dragon Jaw, I butchered that. Yeah, Civilization 7 with the mouse controls. You'll have Enter the Dragon 2. Oh yeah, this one I really did forget. Star Wars Outlaws sometime this year will be launching on the Switch 2. So if you're the one person who likes Star Wars Outlaws, I guess look out for that. You've got Shadow Labyrinth, which is the new pretty much Pac-Man type game. You've got Remanal. I butchered that completely. I don't know too many. Don't know too many about these other titles, but you know, whatever. Fortnite will also be getting a day one launch on the Switch 2, a Fortnite edition. So that's just pretty much an upgrade. And then you've got Professor Luton and the New World of Steam, literally games I've never heard of, and then Human Fall Flight 2. Which is coming day one to the Switch. I believe it's coming. No, sorry. Human Fall Flight 2 is releasing sometime later this year. And then finally, 2K, NBA 2K is also coming to the Switch. I don't know when it's coming, like later this year. A lot of these don't have full release dates. A lot of these aren't coming day one to the Switch. Main reason being some just have release dates, you know, outside of the Switch 2's release, and then some clearly maybe they're having porting issues. Maybe the announcements or the release dates will be released soon or later. I don't really know. There are more to be announced, so I suspect they may hold another direct either really late in April or sometime in May. I think they might keep a direct for that type of period so that they can announce more games, especially launch titles, because right now, as it shows, there's really not too many launch titles for the Switch 2. There's a couple third-party games that have already released. You can get 10 times cheaper on other platforms, and there's going to be one launch title for the Switch 2, and I guess 2 upgrades. So Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom upgrades will be day one, but 2 upgrades of already existing games, and then 1 first-party game, which is Mario Kart World. I think they're going to announce either Metroid Prime 4 or Pokemon ZNA for the release of the Switch, but that's kind of a hot take. Those are both meant to be coming late 2025, but I think they may release those day one for the Switch too, but that's a suspicion. I don't know. And then going on to the final part, which are pretty much the big announcements, the first-party announcements, the big boy announcements. So, the big boy announcements, we're going to start off with a big banger, being Hollow Knight Silksong, which is actually coming this year, which got a reaffirmed release date, and has been reaffirmed that will be coming on this generation consoles, including the Switch 2, so Hollow Knight Silksong has to be a huge W. And then, we've also got Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, which is pretty much going to be a discover all the secrets inside of your new console with Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour, a paid downloadable launch title for the Switch 2. So this game, this Nintendo Switch Welcome Tour, will be a launch title, and it's pretty much just going to welcome you into the Switch 2. It's going to cost around $6 American, or around like $3 Australian, so it's really not going to cost much. So I know a lot of people saw paid downloadable launch title, and they thought, oh, this is a scam, because again, it's a tech demo that's going to cost money, but $3 really isn't that much. I still think it just should have been $3. I don't know why they'd go, we want your $3. Why don't just make it $3? If PlayStation can make a full-length game, aka Astrobot, being literally built into the system for free, you can have a little bit of a Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour completely for free, especially when you're only charging $2 for it, or $2.50 in Australia. I don't know. All we know is it's going to cost like 900 yen, which is like fucking $6. So it's fucking costs nothing. Okay, that's all you need to know. It's stupid, should be free, but you know, whatever. I'm not going to be downloading it. The next one, which is really big, which is Kirby Air Riders sequel. From Sakurai. It's coming this year. We don't have like a solid release date for sometime this year, but we just know it is this year. So yeah, a sequel to Kirby Air Riders, which is a game which hasn't had an installment since the GameCube. So that's kind of wild. So if you were excited for Kirby Air Riders, I'm happy for y'all. That's all I gotta say. I'm happy for you people. And then we've also got Drag X Drive announced for summer of 2025, which is. It looks really fucked up, but it just, from the looks of it, looks like that one game. The game with the Rocket League. It just looks like Rocket League, but you've got like hands and yeah, whatever. All you need to know is Drag X Drive is releasing in summer of 2025. So actually, it might be a launch title, but maybe it'll launch like a week or two after. And it's pretty much going to be a game which will mostly show or uses the Joy-Con as mouse control. So the mouse controls for the Joy-Cons, it's pretty much going to showcase that to its fullest extent, meaning if you really want to get a good in-depth look on the mouse controls, this will probably need to be a day one pickup for you, or Metroid Prime 4, which will also really use the mouse controls, but it looks like this is going to use the mouse controls to a huge advantage, which will be interesting to test it, but I don't see it working as a full title. It just looks really boring and uninteresting. So if you're really looking forward to looking into the mouse controls, I guess this will be a cool title for you to pick up. But if you're really not interested in the mouse controls, I just look at this and think it just looks boring. And then going on to the final 3 titles, being a new From Software game, which is called The Dark Bloods. The Dark Bloods is pretty much a Bloodborne-inspired game. It is releasing in 2026, so it's only releasing on the Nintendo Switch 2. It's going to be a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive. It's releasing in 2026, but here's the downside. It is going to be a co-op multiplayer title, majoritively multiplayer. It's going to have its PvE options, but it seems to be, it looks like mostly a multiplayer title, which does suck because we've got Elden Ring and Night Rain, and we really don't need anything more outside of that. We don't need more multiplayer. We just don't. We want more I personally want single player From Software games. I don't want to see them push too heavily into multiplayer, but they said Night Rain was going to be the only multiplayer game you're ever going to get, and then past that point they were going to be done with multiplayer titles, but that was clearly a lie. So yeah, the Bloods, whatever the fuck I said it was called, is going to be launching exclusively for the Nintendo Switch 2, meaning no PlayStation launch, no Xbox launch, no PSC launch, and again, multiplayer game 2026, so that's all you need to know. And there's going to be a new Legend of Zelda game called Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment has been announced for the Nintendo Switch 2. It is pretty much a prequel to Tears of the Kingdom. It'll focus on Zelda, so I don't believe Link's going to be in it, or Link's just going to play a really small role, and it is releasing this summer, which is cool. Sorry, more specifically this winter. So it'll release around December. It'll be like a Christmas game, you know what I mean? It'll launch around Christmas for America and all that good stuff. It is a sequel to Tears of the Kingdom, which I mentioned. It's not actually being developed by Nintendo internally. It's being developed by Kotecha. I will have their title up on screen. But yes, it's not going to be developed directly in-house by Nintendo, but it will be a Zelda prequel. It'll focus on Zelda. It's releasing this winter. So I guess if you're looking hyped to the new Legends of Zelda, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, I guess look forward to that. It looks like it's only releasing on the Switch 2, so no Switch 1 launch for the game, which does suck, but it is what it is. It's expected, but whatever. And then finally, the last game is Donkey Kong Bonanzas, which is pretty much a new 3D platforming action game. It is coming exclusively to the Nintendo Switch 2 on July 17th. So this is a game which will not release day one for the Switch 2. It'll release around a month later, which I think does suck, around almost a month and a half to 2 months later. Which does suck, but honestly, I'm a firm believer. If you don't have the game ready by a certain date, please delay it. I'd rather have a delayed game that comes out perfect than a game that comes out earlier, which is just cooked and not really too finished. But yeah, it's pretty much going to be a 3D Donkey Kong game. That's what you need to know. It's Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's a 3D platforming game. It's pretty much like Mario Odyssey. It's like a Mario 3D game, but it's Donkey Kong. A lot of people were hoping for a Mario 3D game, but honestly, I think this game looks fire. It's actually only going to cost $110 Australian or $80 American physically, and then digitally it's going to cost $100 Australian, and it's going to cost around $70 American, which is around the same price as PlayStation games. It's a higher quality Switch game. It's going to be a 3D platforming action adventure. It's coming only to the Switch 2. Honestly, I think this could be worth $70 or $80. I think this is a good price for this game. It looks really unique. I think it looks awesome. I'm really excited to see what they're cooking up with this new Donkey Kong Bonanza. I just think it looks fire. I'll definitely be picking it up July 17th. And yeah, that's really everything, actually. That's everything we know so far. That's everything. I'm going to keep this really short because this is getting to the 40-minute mark, which is kind of getting wild. But yeah, I'll keep y'all updated as more information comes out. If you really like this video, sub. If you didn't, I don't know. Don't comment mean things. It hurts my feelings. It doesn't really. Maybe it does. I don't know. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is a long one. I think I went through it fairly well, but I'm gonna quit yapping. This is getting to the 40-minute mark. I hope you enjoyed. If you really did and you made it this far, maybe consider liking, maybe consider subbing. I'm trying to put out as many high quality videos as possible. I'm really not too great at it. I kind of butcher it a lot, but I have confidence in this one. I do yap a little bit longer than what I like to, but really, I got all the information out there as calmly as possible, as fastly as possible for you guys. I hope this helped you in some sort of way make a decision on the Switch 2. I want to know how y'all feel about the Switch 2 in general, about the pricing of the games, about what they've got launch title-wise. Do you suspect there'll be another Nintendo Direct? What's your most anticipated Nintendo Switch game? For me personally, it's definitely Metroid Prime 4. I'm super hyped for that game. It just looks like my type of game. My least is probably the new Pokemon game. I've never been a big Pokemon guy, but I might pick it up depending on the price. If it ends up being like a $120 game, I probably won't. But if it's cheaper, I'd probably consider picking it up. But for the last time, I really want to know how y'all feel about the Switch 2 in general, everything. And I'm going to leave y'all to continue doing your daily activities. I'm going to go. Have a lovely day, or a good day, lovely day, good day, whatever. All good. Bye.